Today is a historic day made by the NDC caucus in Parliament. I mean, under the Fourth Republic, this is the first time Parliament has voted unanimously in rejecting the budget of a government. And this was achieved by the NDC caucus. And Aisha, prior to this, there's been a series of drama. In fact, right at the start of today's engagement, the minority, first of all, held a press conference accusing the majority side of the House of employing some delay tactics to ensure that they get all their members in the House for them to go through the budget process. That was resolved. When Parliament resumed, sitting began, then there was a concern about the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, making an appeal to the Speaker of Parliament to further engage or consult the leadership of the House, i.e. the majority leaders and the minority leaders. But that was the premise for a total chaos and confusion in Parliament. And I'm going to break it down for you for your better understanding. So this happened when the majority leader, HMS Aboso, asked the Speaker of Parliament to grant the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, audience with some application they wanted to make. The Finance Minister now advances argument by saying that he has heard the commentary since the presentation of the budget. He has seen and heard all the comment from the minority and the majority. And so there's clear division on where we are to go as a nation. And it is an appeal that the Speaker of Parliament will grant him the opportunity to engage the leadership. Now, the Speaker decided to subject the appeal to a voice vote. When the voice vote was ruled by the Speaker, indicating that the noes or the MPs have rejected the appeal from the Finance Minister, the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Fenyuakin, then challenged the Speaker's ruling and asked for a division. Now, Asha, here's the best part. Now, when the division was raised by the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Fenyuakin, then the Speaker ruled that if you want to follow the process, so what you have to do is to get non-MPs who are in the plenary out of the plenary. And here we are talking about the Finance Minister, who at the time was in the chamber and not a member of Parliament. And so when the issue was raised, the NPP MPs objected to it, indicating that this is a minister of this government and he has every right to be in the chamber. There was a letter back and forth with the NPP MPs and the Speaker. Then the NPP MPs detected and observed that the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asedi Nketia, was also at the public gallery. So then they mounted a spirited defense that if the Speaker does not order the removal of Johnson Asedi Nketia as the General Secretary of the NDC, then Ken Ofori-Atta is not moving an inch. So that was where the whole confusion and the near fisticuffs began. In fact, you could see the NPP MPs banging on the table, shouting and screaming, accusing the Speaker of bias. Whilst the NDC MPs were very calm, they had remained calm in their seats, and you could see their leadership asking them to remain calm. After about 10 minutes of disagreement and confusion, the majority leader and the deputy majority leader resolved to stay the walkout. So when they moved out of the chamber, then the other members of the House also followed. So you could see all the members of the NPP side moving out of the House. And the NDC members were all right seated. In fact, they had instructions from their leadership to continue to remain on their seat, which they did so. The Speaker, looking at the situation, then suspended the House for 5 minutes. We do understand that the suspension was to ensure that they get the majority side of the House to come back to the chamber so that they can continue with the business of the day, that is the voting on the approval of the 2022 budget. But that did not amount to anything. So the Speaker resumed sitting, I think about 15, 20 minutes. So when he came, now he had to ensure that before Parliament begins any activity, they have to form a quorum. And they need 1/3 of the entire population or the entire members to form a quorum. And if you look at the 1/3 of 275, we are talking about 91, 92. And the NDC MPs were 137. they had the full complement in the House today. All 137 members of parliament from the NDC side were all present. So it clearly indicates that the House now has a quorum for them to proceed with the agenda of the day. The Speaker then put the question again as to whether or not the appeal from the finance minister should be granted. Well, obviously, the side of the NPP was empty. So when he said those who are in favor for it say aye, the aye was very silent. And when he put the question about those who are not in favor say no, you could hear a loud no from the NDC side. So he ruled that, well, the finance minister's appeal has been shut down, blocked, rejected, and so they are moving on to the main agenda for the day, which is the approval of the budget. And the leadership of the House, the minority leader and the majority leader, had already concluded the debate on the budget. And so the Speaker proceeded to again put the approval to a voice vote. Again, when he asked the question whether the 2022 budget policy statement presented by the finance minister should be approved by the House, the ayes, of course, the NPP side, were absent, empty seats there. No member of the NPP was seated in the chamber. And so the noes had it. Then the Speaker ruled that, well, the 2022 budget has been rejected by Parliament. And actually, I must say that the fact that the NPP members were not in the chamber at the time the budget was being rejected doesn't mean that it hasn't been rejected. It's Parliament, and I should remind our viewers, in the last election, the 2020 election, when the Electoral Commission brought its budget and the CI for the amendment, the minority is on record. The minority stage walked out. They didn't participate in the vote, and yet the majority MPs approved the CI for the amendment. And so it was captured as Parliament as a whole approving the CI for the Electoral Commission. And so today, the minority themselves, who are actually the ones backing the budget for 2022, stage walked out from their own budget, and the minority rejecting the budget. That is where we are at the moment. I must say that the minority is elated, they are enthused, they are happy, they are excited about the history they've made today. They believe that this is a day that the Ghanaian people, who, of course, the government had wanted to further impose hardship on them, would be relieved of the hardship. So they have no regrets rejecting the budget for the year 2022, and that they hope that Ghanaians will know that indeed what they did today, they did it in their own interest. They want the finance minister to go back, prepare a new document, bring it to the floor of the House for consideration. Until then, the 2022 budget, Aisha, has been rejected entirely by members of Parliament. So